Hey, this is Ryan TTM back. Sorry, this is part two. I got interrupted by a call there. So back to my point was basically, I was just finishing up anyways, but Dan Marley, he must have kept a couple of my cards. So, but that's cool. He still sends a couple back. You really can't complain too much when you're getting autographs through the mail for nothing. If it was a circumstance where, yeah, maybe I had thrown in some money and something goes awry with that, that would probably be a little more aggravating. But kept a couple of my cards. It's Dan Marley, so the cards themselves probably didn't have value attached to them unsigned. So honestly, it's not like he kept them because that was basically my point. Like if I would have sent older cards maybe that actually had a Beckett value and then they kept a couple, I'd have been like, oh, what? So yeah, anyways, not bad. A couple more Dan Marleys. He's a great signer. He's from my home state, Michigan. He went to college at Central Michigan, I believe, which was like about an hour away from me. So that's pretty cool. He was born in Traverse City, Michigan. So he's kind of like one of those hometown pros that I like to send to. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this video. Sorry I got interrupted, so I'm gonna basically label this one part two. Um, yeah, hit me up in the comments with any questions, tips, stuff you want to talk about. I'm getting my feet wet more and more every day with this process. I'm getting a decent hold on it. It's all about successes at the same time, but it's also all about getting out to newer players. So my focus right now, like I mentioned in the first video, is kind of focusing on Hall of Famers, older players, because those are the guys that are going to be probably the most bang for your buck if they sign, one. And two, older players, they're not going to be around much longer. So you really want to get out to them and, get that signature, technically before it's too late. I've been looking up, there's a few Hall of Famers, it's like they're already deceased, and it's like, well, I just have to maybe get their signature some other way. But, it's amazing some of the players that are still alive. So, now's your opportunity. Seek out those players, but it's not to say, oh, Dan Marley, he's going to be around for forever, so I'll just wait on him. No, you just, keep busy, for when you're starting out, it's all about getting as much lines out as possible, because that's the only way you're going to build up a resume, if you will, of who signs and who doesn't. But it just gives you a basis for not only resending, but then also while you're resending, you can make sure you I don't quite have like a ratio come up to compare to yet, but I'd say for every 3 that I resend to, maybe I'll send out 10 new, or maybe not quite that much. It just depends. But yeah, because the sooner you get out to those newer players, the sooner you're going to know whether they sign, so then you can add them to your resume or reservoir, if you will, to know that, all right, I've got a good hold on this. So I've got guys that have signed, I know they'll sign, but then I want to find out if this other person signs or this other person signs. And you also just have to keep in mind, too, that it's all about that, who does sign and who realistically signs. Because, yeah, you can send anyone you want, but it's a matter of, will they sign or not? And if you're taking the time to, kind of get these envelopes together and addresses and all this stuff, you want to make it more worth your time. So you want to know that this effort that you're putting in has more likelihood of paying off, basically. Like, that you have a higher percentage of, if you send to this player, he's going to return it, versus just, I used to do that in the beginning. I was thinking, well, I'll just send out to all these players and just hope that they return it, not necessarily researching, well, do they ever sign at all? Because there are players, former players, for example. I think there's and there's players that literally they'll probably sign at signings, but they won't sign outside of that because they want to get paid bigger money for it. Or so yeah, they just literally don't sign unless it's a charity event, unless it's cards that are being put into those autographed packs, or just things of that nature. Otherwise, they're not sitting at home waiting for your fan mail to send signed cards back to you. They just don't do it. So, you know, it's the players that do it's great, you know, because it's such a cool way of reaching out to players. It's just kind of a neat, fun hobby. But, you know, yeah, to each their own. There's some that's going to sign. If they don't, then you just reach out to the ones that do. And there's still plenty to be had out there. You also kind of pick your favorite sport. I've noticed baseball is like the biggest sport out there that people just send off to. It's almost like baseball is the more saturated of TTMs. Next might be probably football. I would have to say baseball and football are probably the top two, and then maybe hockey and basketball are kind of a tie. Just depends. But yeah, so and then there's other sports that would be, you know, then down below that. You've got some golf and some soccer and NASCAR, things of that nature. So there's, you know, there's also, geez, I mean, TTM goes into, you know, actors and actresses and producers, direct, like, you know, all the Hollywood side of things as well. But I mainly just focus on sports. I mean, you can get super overwhelmed doing this. I mean, if you don't try to tailor it down a bit to what you want to focus on. But then, yeah, as you get successes, keep branching out more and more. Like at first when I started, it was just basketball. That was going to be it. But then I started to say, well, gosh, there's all these other sports out there. And, you know, I've either got my hometown teams that I root for, or there's Hall of Famers in general, or just, you know, so yeah, you're kind of branching out a little bit more and more as you go, but you also want to, you know, make sure that you kind of keep things in check a little bit, and kind of, you know, don't make yourself feel like you're overwhelmed and all over the place, and then you're sending off to, you know, 50 people a week and you're getting like 2 back a day. You know, it kind of makes it one of those things where you don't want to just become consumed with it. It's keep it a hobby, keep it simple, keep it you know, sort of within scope of what you want to do, and you'll have fun doing it. So thanks for watching the video today. Sorry I got kind of off on a tangent, but I figured if, wow, I'm going to come back here and do part 2, might as well make it worth it for you guys. So hope you enjoyed those tips. Yeah, hit me up in the comments. Those are the cards I got today. Dan Marley and was it Bob Uhl? Let's check back again here. Don Uhl, my bad. So yeah, one new, one I've already gotten before, so now I can resend to Don. Maybe resend to Dan. He'd be one of those where I know he signs. There's other players like that where it's basically a guarantee, but at the same time, while it's great that you get those successes and those guarantees, why not maybe take a break from those players, since maybe there's no Hall of Fame attached to it or things of that nature? Doesn't you know, basically, you know, a lot of the players I'll send to were at least all-stars, right? I mean, that's kind of been at least my focus too, is that it's like, well, you know, even if they're not Hall of Fame yet or whatever, they didn't have a bunch of they weren't that championship successful type of player that we all think of, like a Terry Bradshaw. Oh yeah, multiple Super Bowls. Oh my goodness. Well, but still, they had a good career. Maybe they put in about 15, 16 seasons. They multiple All-Star, or maybe had other accomplishments. So it doesn't, you know, Dan Marley had, like, he was a great 3-point shooter. He was former All-Star as well. So a lot of players were former All-Stars. So there's a big crop out there to be had. But it's just one of those things where, yeah, find your focus and your niche and just kind of go from there. So, all right, thanks for watching this video.